In this Garry Kasparov MasterClass review, I'll be helping you decide if this is the right course for you and if it's worth paying for. I'll be talking you through all the information you need to know about the class and concluding on whether or not it made me a better chess player. And by way of introduction, my name is Finn and I'm the founder of Lanopoly. We provide honest reviews to popular online courses. I have included a link to the Garry Kasparov Masterclass in the description, and so if you want to check the latest price, try a sample lesson, or generally know more, you can click the link below. So with that being said, let's get started. If you're looking to learn chess, then who better to learn from than Garry Kasparov? Garry Kasparov is a former chess world champion and according to chess.com is arguably one of the greatest chess players, if not the greatest player, of all time. He held on to the title of world's highest chess rated player until his retirement from professional chess in 2005, and he's incredibly active and respected within the chess community to this day. He's also spent a year with current number one Magnus Carlsen and shares one or two stories about that time throughout this class. And if you don't know Masterclass yet, here's a quick overview. Launched in 2015, Masterclass is a platform that enables you to learn from the world's best. How it works is Masterclass recruits world-leading experts onto the platform to teach you what they know, whether it's cooking with Gordon Ramsay, music with Hans Zimmer, or tennis with Serena Williams. There's over 100 instructors on the platform and new ones are added each month. The Garry Kasparov Masterclass is 7 hours and 20 minutes long and is broken down into 29 lessons. You also get an 86-page workbook which summarises key lessons and provides you with challenges to do at home. Throughout the lessons you'll hear Kasparov break down key concepts, highlight examples from World Championship games, including many of his own, play a simultaneous against 3 opponents, provide puzzles for you to solve at home, and of course, share the occasional personal anecdote. And to give you a better idea of whether this course is for you, I'll cover the highlights of each section. Once you purchase the masterclass, you'll see something like this. Lesson 1 is a short introduction to the class and kicks off with Kasparov setting the agenda for what's to come. That is, openings, middle and endgame, strategies and tactics, ways to recognise chess patterns, and how to apply the learnings from this class. He also explains that regardless of your skill level, there is something for everyone in this class, and that while the focus of this class is on chess, it will also help improve your decision making more generally. Lesson 2 is a talking heads type video and covers the differences between tactics and strategy, how you can find your own playing style, pattern recognition, and the importance of timing. And of course you'll also get to hear Kasparov's perspective on the game. From there we really start to get into the meat of this course as we go into the tactics. Kasparov covers double attacks, skewers, discover attacks, pins, attraction and deflection, interference, overload, and winning trades, and whoa, that was a lot to say in one sentence. Essentially though, what happens throughout these lessons is Kasparov will introduce the tactic and explain what it is and why it's effective. He'll talk about how you can take advantages of such tactics as an attacker, as well as how to prevent or lessen the damage as a defender. He'll illustrate all of these points with on-screen examples and he'll often give you a challenge to do at home. What's really cool about these lessons is that Kasparov chooses really good examples or studies to demonstrate the devastating impact some of these tactics can have. He'll pull up studies from World Championship games and talk through them, and it was really great to get his perspective there. If you don't know these tactics, then I think you really will be amazed by what you'll learn. If you know some of them already, as I did before this class, then don't worry, as it's completely different hearing them from Kasparov himself, and like I said, the examples were second to none. Next up, Kasparov talks about endgames. He'll cover one of the most famous positions in endgames, how to promote pawns, and endgames involving different pieces, including rooks, pawns, bishops and knights. You'll also get plenty of practical tips and lots of helpful guidance. What struck me about these lessons was the emphasis on developing your endgame. Kasparov says that they're absolutely critical if you want to be a better chess player, and they're all about precision, and there's no room for error. There really is an exact science. We then move on to openings. Kasparov talks through his journey with different openings, his most trusted weapon is black, and what openings he likes to play and recommend to other players. In my opinion, there is a caveat with this section however, and we'll talk more about that in the cons of this course, so make sure you stay tuned. In lesson 18, Kasparov then plays a simultaneous against 3 opponents whose rating ranges between 1200 and 2100. The next 3 lessons are walkthroughs of these games individually. If you're in that ranking range, then I think you really will love this part of the course. Another great thing about these lessons is that Kasparov intentionally applies the tactics and strategies you've learned so far into the games to help you have an appreciation for how they can be used. The next 2 lessons cover case studies from openings and endgames from famous chess matches. There's lots on decisive blows, strong attacks, tactical motifs, and devastatingly quiet move. The final lessons in this course cover Garry's journey, how to analyse your own games, computers and chess, mental toughness, closing words, and a short bonus video where Kasparov analyses one of his own positions. Now, I won't go into too much detail here, as it wouldn't be fair on the people that pay for this course, and the lesson titles themselves are fairly descriptive, but essentially you'll learn Kasparov's backstory, how to develop mental toughness, and the best way for you to analyse your own games, including how Magnus Carlsen analyses his. Now let's move on to the pros and cons. So while there are many advantages of this class, there are really 3 key ones that come to mind. The first one is obvious, and that is you're getting to learn directly from Garry Kasparov. You're getting Kasparov's years of experience as chess number 1 boiled down into one easily accessible class. He's sharing what he believes to be the most important things to improve your game and the mental cues he himself uses when he's thinking through positions. And really, how often is it that you get the opportunity to learn from one of the world's best minds? We really shouldn't take this for granted, and it has to be one of the best things about Masterclass in general. Second, the studies and challenges provided really are great. They really illustrated the concepts taught very well, and they gave me a greater appreciation and understanding of the game than I had before. Kasparov includes games and analysis with Fischer, Karpov and Viswanathan, many of whom are absolute titans of the game, plus many, many more. I was keeping track of all the famous matches he analysed, but I got lost somewhere after 10. Next is that it made me a better player. While I knew many of the tactics before, my pattern recognition improved and I was able to identify opportunities and threats way better than I previously had before. I also followed Kasparov's advice and really spent time working on my endgame, which had a transformative impact in the way I played. Overall, what improved the most was my use of tactics, winning endgames, and doing a lot better under time control, as I often either ran out of time or felt myself rushing moves. Now in terms of cons, the first point I want to make is more about expectation setting. This is not an openings course, and Kasparov himself says as much. He'll mention the names of different openings and you'll see a few on screen, but he'll never walk you through them step by step or explain why you would make certain moves. Kasparov says that when it comes to openings, it's just something that you have to learn, but that this isn't the platform to do that. Instead, he'll talk you through the different openings he's used and why, plus make recommendations for you on what openings you should use and how to make these choices. I didn't realise that was the case going into the course, and so I was a little bit disappointed when I got to those lessons, but I think if you go in with the right expectations, then you're absolutely fine. And ironically, openings was one of the things that improved the most for me as a result of this course, and that's because I took Kasparov's recommendation on which ones to use and put the time in to learn them. Another way to think about it is an opening is just an opening. Anyone can teach you a sequence of moves. It's much better that Kasparov gives you his insights on the game rather than memorising different positions. He does suggest that if you want to learn openings, you can read one of his books on them. However, to be honest, I just went to YouTube and found some super in-depth videos on them. The next con is small, but I think pretty justified. The lesson where Kasparov plays 3 people at once is quite hard to follow. It's an hour long and there's no dialogue. You can't always really see what's going on that clearly, and to tell you the truth, I did switch off halfway through. The next 3 lessons are much better. This is where Kasparov actually goes through each game with the players and talks through critical moments. But besides these 2 points, there really aren't that many other cons that come to mind. I mean, you should perhaps also know that there are a few lessons about Kasparov, his life, and a few personal anecdotes, which is more infotainment than practically learning chess. But for me, these types of lessons help break up the content and do add to the overall enjoyment, so I didn't really see them as a con. So in terms of who this course is for, I'd say it's best for someone who is serious about improving their chess, that wants to learn from the best, and is prepared to put in the time to take the course and practice. Kasparov says that there's something in this course for all skill levels, and I do tend to agree, although it's hard to say for sure as obviously I'm not a grandmaster. That's because he covers fundamental concepts that would really help beginners and at the same time delves deep into the case studies that will really help the more advanced players. Kasparov doesn't explain the rules of chess, so of course you will need to learn those separately if you don't know them already, but to me this is actually a pro, as it means no time is wasted by Kasparov explaining how the pieces move. So in terms of cost, I wouldn't be surprised if MasterClass actually increased the price because of the amount of value that they're delivering. Because of that, plus the fact that price changes depending on what currency you're using, your best bet is to click the link in the description. It's not so helpful for me to say the price as it is today if it's out of date a few months down the line. What would be helpful though is if you are able to comment below with the price that you see so that other viewers can know. I do have a piece of advice though regarding the cost. How MasterClass works is that you pay for something called an all access pass, which, as the name suggests, gives you access to all of the courses on MasterClass. Your best bet is therefore to take as many classes that interest you to get the most value. For example, let's say you manage to find 10 classes that you'd be interested in taking, which I assure you won't be hard. You can actually divide the cost you see by 10 to give you a rough idea of how much you're effectively paying per course. When you do this, you realise that you're actually getting a very good deal, as you're essentially learning from world experts for very little money. So with that being said, is the Garry Kasparov MasterClass worth it? Well, for me, the answer is definitely yes. The opportunity to learn from Kasparov, the studies and insights he provides, plus the fact it actually made me a better player, made it well worth the investment. I started to see patterns I hadn't seen before, performed a lot better in the end games, and managed time a lot better too. If you are looking for a course that focuses on learning openings step by step, then this probably isn't the course for you, as the focus of this class is more about learning key principles and getting Kasparov's insights rather than committing a sequence of moves to memory. That being said, you can always take his opening recommendations and look them up for free on YouTube, as I did. You should also check the other courses on MasterClass to see if you can find others that interest you too, as the more classes you take, the better value you're going to get. There's masterclasses on meditation, magic, negotiation, poker, cooking, and many, many more, all taught by world-leading experts like Kasparov. And as MasterClass is a refund policy, that removes the risk of you losing out if you find it's not to your liking. So with that being said, you can find a link to the Garry Kasparov MasterClass in the description, where you can check the latest price, try a sample lesson, and generally find out more about the class. If you do decide to make a purchase and want to support the channel at no extra cost to you, I'd be very grateful if you buy through the link in the description. And thanks for watching till the end. If you like the video, then please like the video. I really appreciate your support, and it really helps bless the YouTube algorithm.